All right, Cowboys fans, welcome into How About Wow, where tonight we talk about what Troy Aikman had to say about these Cowboys, their chances, and Micah Parsons. Here we go.
The Cowboys are going to be better than what a lot of people project. I saw something where, the pundits think that the over-under is 7.5 wins on the Cowboys. I think they're going to be much better than that. I think they got a chance.
The only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
All right, welcome into the show. I'm Gavin Dawson from 105.3 The Fan, and with me, as always, is the former all-academic SEC lineman from Kentucky, New Bear Lesniewski. How the hell are you tonight, buddy?
Man, I love any opportunity to pull the 8 out of the closet. Let's go.
Oh, man, you got an Aikman jersey on? That is clutch. What'd you think about what he said here, man? To what extent did the Cowboys have a chance? Whenever you're talking about chances in the Cowboys, that means Super Bowl, doesn't it?
At the risk of getting myself in trouble with Cowboys Nation, my wife's from Eastern PA. The whole family is Eagles fans. And whenever they watch, it's always Troy Aikman, and they think he's so biased against it. Bleep Troy Aikman. I hate Troy Aikman. So this is one of my favorite jerseys to wear around the in-laws for obvious reasons, to tweak that. To answer your question, simple, flat, and plain, I do. I think there's a way. I think there's a blueprint when you look back over time and you look at, talk about some of the best offenses to ever do it, and go greatest show on turf, and talk about, Grant Wistrom and the likes of, DeMarco Farr, Kevin Carter, pick whatever Peyton Manning team you prefer. Do you like Freeney and Mathis, or do you want to go to Denver and talk about our guy DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller, or Von Miller and Elvis Dumervil before that? There's a way to put yourself in a position with GP, CD, Fergie, Jaden Blue, etc., and just say to hell in a handbasket with a run game. Let's light up this scoreboard and get out ahead of folks. Eberflus defense, take the ball away, give the ball back to that offense, go get another one, pin your ears back, go hunt the other team's quarterback. That is a path. That is a real thing that could exist for this team.
I love it. And if you like it, please consider hitting the like button. If you think it's a crazy idea, please tell us why in the comments below. We love interacting with you. And, maybe consider hitting that bell button so you never miss when we upload or when we go live. How About Wow, brought to you by Bet Online. We're going to put that bonus link in the description, up to $250 in bonus bets. I respect Troy Aikman's opinion a lot, almost as much as I respect you wearing that jersey around those Eagles fans that are unfortunately, and now in your family, married into it, understand, sometimes love cuts through anything.
You don't understand. I had to watch Tom Brady. I'm not a Patriots fan, but I'm a Tom Brady stan, right? I had to watch him throw for 505 and Nick Foles in my house.
Ouch. That is painful. Well, I think pain is a good way of describing what the Cowboys would need to do in order to get a Super Bowl resume going. I can't help but maybe chuckle just a little bit on that idea, because everything is so cynical around the Cowboys right now, coming off the Packers loss and after the 2023 season last year, and then this preseason. It seems like they are miles away. But could a combination of great scheme, great inside three with the offensive line, Booker, Beebe, and Smith's power, can it unleash something in a power gap scheme, running the football, just a crap load of running it? In 2014, the Cowboys emerged from basically being a 500 team in 11, 12, and 13. They decided, hey, let's finally give the ball to DeMarco Murray, and let's block the hell out of some people. And Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, and Ron Leary, in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, completely changed how we were looking at them, because they suddenly became a very physical and capable running team. I think you combine that with the coaching staff. Why the hell not? At least give the running game portion of this that I think is step one towards being a Super Bowl team.
Right. And look, we've gone into this a couple of different ways, Clayton Adams, Connor Riley, and the variance within the run game. The X's and O's side of this conversation is a different deal than what we've had McCarthy, West Coast, go back through time, and even the Kellen Moore offense, and wanting to have this package of plays that you run from a million different formations and get really good at a few bread and butter. What they did with James Conner, Terminator reference. I got pop culture on the brain in the synesthetic, Twitter rabbit hole. Forgive me. But as you go through and you watch the film of and we've detailed it here on our pod, where what they were able to do with John Connor, a guy who's a 4.65 guy, who's a big back, getting outside, getting yards before contact, like the profiles athletically, the traits that Javonte Williams and even Maffa have. Like, and then you put Blue into that as the change of pace. If Miles Sanders is healthy, he's still got burst and get up and go and can hide behind and comes court, not the other side. I mean, I think we're talking about the can't, because Joe Milton can't throw anything but a straight line pass.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And I think, to be fair, the combination of Dak, CD, and Pickens, even without like establishing a great running game or getting some of the guys healthy or some of the other things we can talk about with the impact of the coaching staff, and maybe Eberflus is going to have a great impact on this. I think just Dak, CD, Pickens, you look at the schedule, yes, it's tough, but that's going to be more than most teams can match up with their pass defense. As long as you get average, I could see 9 or 10 wins, just with a little bit of health luck and some turnover luck going your way, even without getting the ability to run the ball or stop the run, which is their two biggest problems right now.
The line is still 7.5. If Dak is healthy for 18 weeks and they win 7 games, Dak should just retire after the Giants game in week 18, because I can't even, if he's healthy for 18 weeks and they go 7-10, then he should just walk away.
Well, I can see that as well, because I do think their shortcomings are significant. But I mean, they worked around it in 2021. They didn't have great run stopping personnel under Dan Quinn. They were a very aggressive defense, and they figured out a way because they were able to score enough points and play with a lead. So to that point, I think if you can just pass the ball, put points on the board, turn these pass rushers loose, and then I think the one thing I'd have to get along with the run game to really start believing is true is get Trayvon Diggs back. This is a guy who's got the ball skills. He's really a wide receiver playing corner in a lot of ways, and he could get you the 5 or 6 picks. Bland could as well, and now you're cruising into the playoffs.
Well, and then are we talking about Revel as well? Are we talking about a free agent guy? Are we getting Asante Samuel Jr., et cetera? All the guys we brought up for the course of the past few weeks. There's still money to be spent, deals to be done, shape to be made to this team, particularly if any of those guys start the season on PUP, because what we've seen so far in the preseason from the DB room is arguably worse than Joe Milton's intermediate passing game. And I think you did a really nice job of just bringing final context to that, and what I was talking about earlier about a way to play. And if you're willing to concede that we're not going to be a great one run stop team, can you play in the middle of the pack? Can you at least be in a place where you're not the Raven or the Steelers getting run over by the Ravens for $299 right on their way home for the year? Can you just play league average? And when you talk about, I know you're not high on Murray. We haven't seen him at all. Sanborn playing downhill is nails. You talk about Childress and some of these other guys who have popped off where you can, Clark and these guys were willing to put their face in the fan. If they're willing to just be where they're supposed to be and do what they're supposed to do, then what Micah Parsons does on top of that is make the game-changing play that puts the ball back in Dak's hands to either make up for the one that you gave away or to get that one that forces the other team to chase you for whatever's left on the clock.
Yeah, Troy Aikman was talking really in the context of getting Micah Parsons back, because that is when the beginning of your defensive credibility begins. Without Micah Parsons, we're not even having this conversation, just to be clear. But Stephen Jones just had a quote on the telecast of tonight's practice here locally, and it's kind of along the lines of what Troy Aikman's talking about. Like, how much of a chance do these Cowboys have? Leave a comment down below if things go well. He said, we've had a great training camp. I know the preseason games haven't been perfect, but we expect that because we're not wanting to really show anything, whether it's offense or defense, what the Cowboys are going to be about this year. We're sure looking forward to 2 weeks from Thursday when we get to go up to Philadelphia and see what we're about. They're taking the unknown as a feature, not a bug right now, and we can hope. But I like what you were saying right in there, because can this run defense just be average? Based on what we've seen in these first 2 preseason games, we're not seeing every series another chunk run. Oh, there goes 12 yards. Like the Baltimore game actually was under 4 an attempt, and you're not going to do that against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. But most teams don't bring that. Most teams bring about what Baltimore brought with a starting offensive line and a decent level running back. I think that was a fairly good indicator that Matt Eberflus's system, and I think the discipline that Shoddy wants, stop playing hero ball, put the team first every play. Like just getting out of the mode of I'm going to go get paid and hit this quarterback, I think could do wonders for particularly this defense that has been so undisciplined with the offsides and the gap jumping.
The same way that you were just talking about Lamar and Derrick Henry, I mean, week one is Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley was so good last year. They put new moves in Madden, right? I mean, he was ridiculous. He's a cheat code talking about a bug, right, in a game. And when you think about what the Eagles are going to want to come out and do, here's where Micah Parsons changes the math and why Troy Aikman could be right. If Lane Johnson is not playing or he's playing and he's not 100% and you put Micah Parsons over him, it's different than if Lane Johnson is healthy. If Lane Johnson is healthy and Micah Parsons is over there, you don't have to help. You don't have to chip. You don't have to do shit. But if Lane Johnson isn't right, Lane Johnson, maybe the best one in the whole league, and Micah Parsons is over him, you got to chip, you got to help, and you got to maybe run to the other side. You got to run the read option at Micah to try to make him guess and make him wrong. And if that's week one and that's Lane Johnson, extrapolate that over 18 weeks with all the injury variants and all the things that are going to happen week to week, team to team, player to player, scheme to scheme, whatever it is, and whoever it is. If 11 is out there, you have to account for him like TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. Pick your guy on your team in your city or your favorite Cowboy of all time. He's that dude at the start of every play, and that's why he changes the math, why Troy Aikman talks about him changing the game.
That's why the numbers say it. It is incredible. Like EPA per play over the last 4 years suggests that for the balance of that time, there's been better defenses, but on average, the Cowboys have been amongst the best over a 4-year period with Micah on the field and without one of the absolute worst. I think the only thing that could get in the way of his leverage is maybe we turn the page on this. We get to the next branch of the topic tree, New Bear, and specifically talk about the part of Troy Aikman's answer in here. You want the full long form, by the way? Let me go ahead and hit long form Troy Aikman here just for full context for anybody that did not hear it.
The Cowboys are going to be better than what a lot of people project. I saw something where the pundits think that the over-under is 7.5 wins on the Cowboys. I think they're going to be much better than that. I think they got a chance. I like what Brian Schottenheimer has shown in training camp and going into the year, and they've got some things that I like about the team in general. But without Micah Parsons, I just don't think they're going to be able to slow anybody down. I mean, he's a total game wrecker, and he's proven that.
Yeah, total game wrecker. He's proven that. And when it comes to not having him on the field, you're totally screwed. But what if the Cowboys, and we just did a show the other day about, hey, Joe Milton's a tank move. What if the Cowboys are like, hey, fine, you want to sit out? This season is shaping up. We can't stop the run. We can't run. Our left tackle's hurt. Our right tackle's a turnstile in pass pro. We are rebuilding. So, Micah, if you don't want to play, I mean, we have a plan to put Joe Milton in as our backup quarterback right now. Are you freaking kidding me? We just got George Pickens, the only addition on our team to get people that aren't really paying attention excited. So if I don't know if Micah actually has the leverage that Troy suggests in there, New Bear.
But are you saying that you're saying that Dak's hurt, right? You're not saying that just because they start the season slow.
I'm saying that because Dak threw 11 touchdowns, had 8 interceptions in the 8 games that he played last year, and looked to be stuck in quicksand because his personal protector, Tyron Smith, wasn't there anymore.
So I'll give you that there's going to be a week at some point over the course of the 17 games where he does look like that. We saw it in Oxnard. I was texting you at one point. I don't think I can post a damn thing from today without making him look bad or look like I'm trying to, photo shame or video shame him into that particular rabbit hole on Twitter. And I the very next day, it was like he had a Veterans Day off the day before, and he was going 70 on just carrying out fakes. So, he is getting older. Father Time is undefeated. He did have the hamstring fall off the bone with no one around him. Like, those are real things. At the same time, so is George Pickens, so is CeeDee Lamb. And if this dude can stay intact, there is no reason to expect anything other than light bulbs getting blown out in scoreboards.
Yeah, I just think that, on top of that, the Cowboys are so stubborn with wanting to do things on their schedule as well. But I mean, the point holds. You're not going to be able to play championship level defense. The Cowboys want to provide the illusion that they're going forward at every turn. But if internally they're already thinking this team is headed for a rebuild, I can't imagine them feeling psychologically like there is this huge opportunity. I mean, we can have fun drawing up the path to how many different things go well for the Cowboys. Trayvon Diggs comes back from the microfracture a year after ACL and returns to all pro form. That one right there is like low probabilities, isn't it? The coaching staff with very little experience on NFL game day on their first crack at it solves NFL offense and gives Dak like a smorgasbord of easy opportunities to
without a clear running back lead.
Without a clear running back. Your right tackle who looked great in pass pro, but might look a little, I don't know. I don't want to say uncoordinated. He's a pro player. I definitely don't want to use the word like clumsy.
Oh, you mean Booker? You're talking about at guard.
Yeah.
You're not talking about Steele. You're talking about the Rook. Yeah. There's
I
22 stuff that leaves something wanting. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I just don't know that if the Cowboys are thinking, boy, if we get Micah Parsons under contract, we're going to the Super Bowl.
So can I interrupt and ask? I was trying not to do it, because I know you don't want to do it. You don't want this to turn into the show about what happens, what could you get, what's everyone trying to. But are you trying to trade him now? Are you trying to say they should have taken the Packers trade? That I was right about Lucas Van Ness? Are you trying to say that some of these other offers from the Raiders, from New England, are we trying to say let this guy go?
I wish we lived in a world where the Cowboys would seriously consider trading their star players, because it is a vastly superior way to win the Super Bowl. We're close. Let's trade for great players. We're far. Let's let them go and get draft picks for the future. The Eagles have done it. The Rams have done it. What's crazy about the Rams is they just won the Super Bowl 3-4 years ago. They're back already. They're amongst the contenders again.
You're spending money too.
That's after saying F them picks. You really only need 1 year to cleanse all of your bad cap moves, not have a draft pick. We're terrible, right? But it sets you up for the future. And not only that, but it just makes you so much better when you actually have a chance. So I would be willing to. Are the Joneses, willing to with this one? What we have is, Adam Schefter's report of them saying he feels like they're heading for a divorce. We have Stephen Jones saying we have to figure out something different to do. So if you're not going to start managing the cap differently, the only other thing different you could do would be to play that game with your draft picks and your star players.
Well, we both agree that, if they really do, if this ends up in a franchise tag situation, that would be the move where he might potentially, as well as he's managed his money and as good of a, Rob Gronkowski, Marshawn Lynch, like you've said before, living off the endorsements and stuff, like, is that what it would take? Like you've talked about before, not risking 200 to go get the 25, 28 that's out there right now, long-term. And for sure, 2 years in a row of that would be like, I'm out. There's no way this can go on anymore.
I don't know. What's that question again?
The franchise tag, right? So they could trade him right now, and then someone else has to deal with the big $200 million extension.
Oh yeah.
But if they dig their heels in, like you were talking about the $85 million over the next 3 and franchise him back to back, like that would be the line in the sand where Micah is like, bleep this.
Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, I don't see Micah Parsons giving up any game checks. Micah Parsons is one of these guys that manages his finances very tightly and looks at dollars lost like they're, a significant expenditure. Some people, no matter how rich they get, struggle to pull a $20 bill out of their wallet. They're like, oh man, this is $20.
Well, he's learning from Uncle Jerry. He's learning from the best to ever not do it.
Yeah, and some people like Trayvon Diggs are like, oh, I lost $500,000 because I didn't go to Dallas to work out. Okay, cool. I'm making $20 million a year. That's fine. I just feel like Micah is one of those guys that's going to bet on himself to stay healthy. And if he's got to play this year for 25 and next year for 28 that's still a combined $53 million for 2 years of football. This is, money that when DeMarcus Ware was in his contract, that would be your entire second deal. And now these guys are making it in a year or two. So, I think he's going to be bitter about it. But I think he's bitter naturally about everything. So for the Cowboys, it's like, what's different? You don't really talk to anybody. We have, I have some media here I could share for you from tonight's practice and from last night's practice. He's just standing around hanging out by himself. Like, if Trayvon Diggs is over working with the trainers, I think that's his only friend. That if Trayvon Diggs is not available to hang out with Micah Parsons, there he is standing alone up against the wall. He's like the wall fly at the junior high dances.
What you called it is Where's Waldo?
Yeah, this Where's Waldo?
Where's Micah? Well, the best part is too, he's got the hood, he's got the beanie. Like, you could make someone needs on Twitter needs to make a little cutout of him as Waldo, because he's basically got the same thing on every time, and he looks like he just woke up from a nap.
I mean, God bless Charles Haley. He's the old head at like the family gathering that notices the sulking teenager and says, "Man, let me go over here and holler at this young man a little bit, see if I can, get him out of his shell a little bit." But
I hope he didn't tell him to do what he did on the Netflix documentary. Let's not see some HR violations on Stephen Jones' desk.
Hey, these guys might be cut from the same cloth now that you mention it.
Speaking of being cut from that cloth, the big question becomes, beyond Troy being right and what might that mean from a Super Bowl perspective, can this even be a playoff, Micah Parsons? Forget the Super Bowl, but can they be relevant? Is Jerry printing money on his engagement farm if they go get picks and a guy, whatever team, whatever replacement? Because there's holes on this team that Micah Parsons could fix right now while also doing what you're talking about and getting into the Arch Manning sweepstakes in the years to come.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting angle here, and that's kind of what I was trying to illustrate with these photos. Is just like, if people your own age on your football team don't like you, how much are the coaches going to like you? And I think likability can go a long way. Like on the Cowboys, Jason Witten was around for an extra 3 or 4 years of career, even after he should have retired, just because he was so well liked. So I think that matters, and that could be a reason that maybe the Joneses decide ultimately we got to trade this guy. If all of your coaches and players are coming to you like, you can't lose this guy, like Charles Haley did for Emmitt Smith, throwing a helmet at Jerry Jones when he tried to walk in the locker room after the Cowboys just lost a game with Emmitt Smith. "This is why I came here, Jerry. Here, take this." And it blew up a hole in the sheetrock, for crying out loud. Like, he threw the hell out of that helmet. Nobody's doing that for Micah Parsons. So if that's the case, it's very difficult to imagine trading him and getting anywhere near his impact on the game, even if you have 3 number 1 picks. Like that's the cold, hard truth of it. The Micah Parsons type of players, there's only 3 of them in the NFL that have been drafted over the course of 10 or 11 years now. If you go back to TJ Watt, like 11 years ago, Myles Garrett, like 6 or 7 years ago. 5 years ago, and now, Micah Parsons 4 years ago. Is there another one that's come around? I don't think so. So you have to look at these guys like we have one of the Mount Rushmore players at this position. We're not really making ourselves that much closer to winning by getting rid of one of these guys.
Look what a difference a subset of teams and situations and locker rooms and Netflix series makes, because who else has his own documentary this offseason that was making the rounds that everybody hates? Aaron Rodgers. Who just went on his teammates who's holding out, his teammate who's being a pain in everyone's ass, asking for more money, podcast and called him out? The same guy who dogged him earlier a few months ago in the summer, Aaron Rodgers. Who everyone is talking about wanting to have a beer with and who might actually be cool and might not be that? Aaron Rodgers. Like, you're right. There's no one. Where's Dak in this whole thing? As much as CD has stood up for George Pickens, as much as you've seen, Lyle Collins coming out and getting in with guys and working with guys and talking about guys. Nobody is talking about Micah except for Micah and Jerry talking past each other.
Yeah, no, there's none of that going on. So, if you are the head coach and you are trying to build a great culture where we're all here and we're all helping each other and the team's first and we're all having this insane level of fun, and you got sulky, pouty guy over here, and this isn't just about the money. Okay, let me make that point clear for anybody that might have assumed Micah Parsons is standing off to himself because he's not getting the money. No, this is the same guy that doesn't come back for OTAs and off-season workouts because he doesn't like hanging out with his teammates. That's exactly what we're seeing. Like, if the drills were going on, Micah would be going about the drills in a very lonerish way, just like, you're seeing on screen right here before, Charles Haley probably felt bad for the guy and, wanted to go over and show him a little bit of love or something like that. But I think it is a very complicated situation. And I just wanted to put that out there. Maybe you get your thoughts on it. If as a head coach, you're trying to build this special culture, if one of your best players is just kind of a loner guy that doesn't get along with everybody, you're willing to make exceptions because he's great. And you're going to keep him on the team and not ask for him off. But if the team comes to you at some point and says, hey, we're actually thinking about trading this guy, you're like, that sounds like a good idea. I get 3 chances to go pick guys who have all the intangible traits. They check all the boxes that we can plug into this system. You probably wouldn't end up better on the field, but, maybe long-term, and you especially look at the salary cap benefits, maybe it's exactly what this team needs right now.
Well, so you're talking about the head coach level, and this is the one place where the Nepo baby and Jerry's guy and some of that stuff rears its ugly head, because you can talk about how cool Shoddy is and how he needs to turn his hat around. We see you, Colin Coward, et cetera, at all. But when the music stops and there's all these chairs in the room and Micah Parsons doesn't want to sit in one, because that's really where we're at. If the reports are to be believed, there's a deal on the table and he isn't willing to sign it, right? There's a number. It's not as big as he wants. The guarantees aren't as big as he wants, or the years are too much. It's one or all of those things, some combination of them. The other argument being that Jerry just wants to do the deal with Micah in the room. He doesn't even want the agent in the room because he can't stand agents anymore. And that's where we're at. Like, if this really isn't Schottenheimer's team, this is proof that he's not the one who's ultimately making these calls, because I think if it was Schottenheimer's call, Bill Belichick would have traded this dude already.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe New England's a good spot. There's a lot of teams that are going to be interested in adding a player of this level.
Did you see the New England rumored offer?
No.
So it was, Travion Henderson, the guy that you wanted, the G-Bag wanted the Cowboys to draft. He's popping off in preseason at every level, including special teams, right? So what if they sent Ramondre Stevenson 2 1s, 2 3s, and a 4 over the next 2 years? That kind of stuff is being rumored to be out there, the same way that Tom Brady's talking about winning now, and they're in the Trey Hendricks sweepstakes now that the Bengals look like they have no idea. Talk about teams. What's that?
That was for Micah? That's a rumor for Micah?
From New England, but then there was an escalation too with the Raiders, with multiple players, multiple 1s, multiple 3s and 4s, because teams are seeing the Green Bay deal that was rumored to be turned down and say, well, what more might it cost?
Man, if you're talking about multiple 1s, a running back with additional draft compensation, I don't know how you could turn that down if you're the Cowboys. And maybe we're about to see a bidding war kick off. If that's the case, I hope the Cowboys are open-minded to it. So far, very standoffish with the idea of trading. But I think at some point, you'd have to consider it. And that's the exact kind of team they should be dealing with. I want to talk about the teams that don't have a brilliant quarterback that's, going to give them 30 touchdowns and 10 picks and 4,500 yards guaranteed and maybe an MVP season. Those are the kind of seasons, out of the Green Bay Packers. I would like to avoid trading with those teams. I want a team that at least one of these picks could be heading for the top 10 or better. Now you're talking about, with these quarterbacks coming out, the news yesterday that, Arch Manning is very flexible and anything is possible. He could come out
day to day. I'm taking it day by day, just trying to live the best life, getting invited to barbecue after barbecue.
I mean, I know you follow the draft well. I don't know the last time that we could look at the college football landscape as a whole and see so many quarterbacks that have a chance to be the number 1 guy overall taken.
Yeah, I mean, you've got risers left and right, and more than that, you're going to have guys potentially coming out early or staying to avoid guys they would be competing with in that class before they fall and get slotted in that first round.
And dude, if you could compile multiple firsts, if the Cowboys have a top 5 pick, the chances of those players coming out early in the year you have the pick, it skyrockets. Every agent wants their quarterback to go to the Cowboys. I think you could be sitting in a very unique position over a multiple year period of having extra picks and really being able to get finally a blue chip quarterback, the first one since Troy Aikman, to be a game decider in January.
Well, and for the engagement farm, I mean, this is something that's going to be talked about, monitored, followed. You're going to say, what did Micah do with the team that he goes to? What are the players that you got back? How did they accumulate stats? What players did those picks turn into? Is this better than what Jimmy Johnson did with the Herschel Walker trade? Like, think about all the different ways this plays.
Yeah. So going back to the start of the show and the premise of this, just to reset on it, what do the Cowboys really have a chance of doing here? It's just make the playoffs, right? You didn't really believe that stuff about the Super Bowl.
All I'm saying is I'm looking back at history and saying Kurt Warner was bagging groceries, and then there's a scheme, there's players, there's a way through after Trent Green goes down. All I'm saying is, you look back over time and you look at Peyton Manning and all the things he couldn't get done until he did get it done. Like until he won, all everybody said was you can't win throwing the ball and then having these small defensive ends going. You're a front runner. What happens when everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face? And every time the New England Patriots punched him in the face, they took a 10 count. They did not get off that canvas. I mean, then the league changed the rules because Bill Polian bitched, and we won't get into that here.
You think Dak a year like Kurt Warner and Peyton Manning did? I mean, those were really good offensive lines.
Kurt Warner was bagging groceries in Iowa, and then he's the Super Bowl MVP and the MVP of the league because of why? Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Azazeer Hakeem, Ricky Prohl, Marshall Faulk being the biggest difference maker of them all, and Orlando Pace being the left tackle, maybe the best one to ever do it, to your point. They had dudes up front, and then they also had Grant Whitstrom, DeMarco Farr, Kevin Glover. They had badass dudes coming the other way, just like Freeney and Mathis, just like DeMarcus Ware, like we talked about earlier, opposite Von Miller, or Von Miller and Dumerville before. I'm just saying that there's a way that it's been done before where if you squint and you want to believe and everyone stays healthy and you win enough into the bye that coming out of it, you get overshown, coming out of it, Ravel, coming out of it, Diggs, and any of those dudes, some combination, not all of those dudes, but 80%, 8 out of those 10 guys that we're talking about play the way that they're capable of. Can you see it? Sure. Is it going to happen? Are they going to, get past the teams that are in head? That's going to obviously be decided on the field. We're going to find out here in just a few days. And the most exciting part about it is that we haven't seen anything yet. That first series, that first quarter, that first half, and then, oh, by the way, how they make halftime adjustments and come out and attack based on what happens in that first half is going to be completely different than Oxnard. Is going to be completely different than Joe Milton throwing laser cannon rocket balls to no one, because Dak, CD, GP, all these guys being on the field for this first time, we haven't seen that yet. We have no idea what that looks like. And that's why Troy Aikman is saying what he's saying, because you're believing that 2 years ago, AP2 runner-up to Lamar for MVP without George Pickens. We're believing Ferguson has another level to go. We're believing that all this stuff is going to come together in enough of a way that at the very least it's going to be really, really, really damn exciting, even if you end up losing at the end of the day.
Well, that is a great note to end on. New Bear, How About Wow, brought to you by Bet Online. Sign up link in the description, up to $250 in bonus bets. Fastest payouts in the game. It's the best online sports book. Works in any state. That is Bet Online. Anything else to talk to the buddies about before we let them go?
Well, I mean, I got a Troy Aikman jersey on. I'm going to go call my father-in-law and ask him if he wants to FaceTime. I mean, we'll start there, and then we'll see how deep he wants to go into the How About Wow shit.
Until next time, how about wow?